Hello everyone and welcome to the highlights of the 7th round of the URL-GT1 Championship from Monaco. Looking at the qualifying results, it was always going to be very difficult to get a good lap in here, but Tony Ukic managed to grab the pole, 2/10 in front of Mikko Korkiakowski. Tony's teammate was in P3, while Mikko's teammate Sten was in P4. No AM drivers participated in the qualifying, but Vladimir Jelicic and Fabio Bartolai will start the race, so let's see how this pans out for both Pro and AM championships. So here's the grid. It's Tony on the right, and Mikko gets a good start, and he spears off into the distance. Peter Baukus looks at his inside, and it seems he takes the position, some bumping there in the background, but Peter Baukus is in first position. Oh, bit of a slide from Michal Klisch there in the back, but everyone gets through. Tony Ukic fell back to P4, and he's trying to pressure Sten into a mistake immediately. They are followed by Reinhard Berger, Miguel Santiago Carao, and some other guys. Here we see them going through the hairpin, the whole field, bunching up of course, very close, some bumping here, which is almost inevitable, but clean start, or quite clean start from everyone. So here we are going through the tunnel, and then the first really big braking zone and difficult section here, the hairpin, the chicane, sorry. And indeed, it's Reinhard Berger in 7th, Robert Horvat in 9th. So everyone's still very bunched up. Fabio Bartolai and Vladimir Jelicic are in the 2 last positions. This is how they will cross the finish line, but of course everything will change lap after lap, even in the first turn of the second lap, as we will see. Miguel had a bad getaway from the last corner. Robert looks at his outside. They go side by side, and Robert gets a small tap from Manlio Liguori, unfortunately, so he is stuck there in turn 1. Gets swamped by quite some drivers. Manlio also waits for him. So we see that Fabio Bartolai also made a bit of a gap to Vladimir Jelicic. So here's Manlio. He's following Robert Horvat, Mike Greatrix in a close battle in lap 3. And Mike here in front is really pressuring Robert now, trying to get him to make a mistake. Oh. Mike looks at the inside, so very close here. Manlio behind the panels from Mike Greatrix. Oh, and that's, I think, Angelo Guidici going wide. Yes indeed, and here is Robert Horvat. As we saw in the first lap, he had an incident, but he's working his way back up the field. He will go side by side here with Avik Panexander, but he will get out on top for P10. Tony Ukic, meanwhile, was following Sten Mikkel Olsen, and he made a mistake here. Loses quite some positions. But this was our pole sitter, so let's see what he does with his strategy. Mike Greatrix here versus Avik Panexander. Still putting pressure on him, and Avik making that mistake, going wide here. And Mike capitalizes, going for the inside line. So good pass. Rare pass, of course, here in Monaco. So well done. And it's very close here still indeed. Vladimir Jelicic is just in front of Michal Klisch. He had some incidents in the opening laps. Here it's Vladimir making a mistake and letting Michal Klisch through. Peter Bacchus was in P1, but he lost his first position to Mikko by making a small mistake just as his teammate at the chicane touching the inside armco. So back to P2 for him. Alex Scott here is behind Avik, so Avik is going a bit backwards at the moment. He's feeling some pressure from some guys. Here he gets on the power a bit too early, and Alex gets a free pass to take 14th position. Here is Florian Kutz, and Robert Horvat will try the same move as he did on Avik Panic Sender. Florian keeps it on the outside, very close. Tries to turn in, but of course Robert was there, so a very difficult pass by Robert, but executed quite cleanly. Here is Angelo Guidici, followed by Tony Ukic, and Tony, as we saw, he spun out at the chicane. He changed his strategy, did it very early, and he's now working his way through traffic. He has the pace of the leaders, so he's trying to lose as less time as possible, because before he was in a battle with Reinhard, Reinhard, Miguel and Greg Metcalf. He got out of that. Now let's see if he can make a pass on Angelo, who is defending quite well here. But Tony clearly has some good overspeed, and he goes for the inside, and he will get the move done indeed. So P10 for Tony at the moment. We will see where he ends up after the pit cycles. He's on a different strategy. Michal Klisch battling with Mike Greatrix here, still in the first stint, and Mike making a bit of a mistake in turn 1, and he has to let Michal through going up the hill. Let's see how this ends up at the end of the race, these two. Reinhard Berger, he was the first one to pit of the battle with Miguel and Greg, and we already saw Tony flashing past, so he gained from that. And here is Miguel coming up. He already pitted very close. Reinhard could not have lost any more seconds to stay in front, but he does. So Mikko was one of the last people to go to the pits, and he will keep his first position also after the pits, after Peter Bacchus' mistake at the hairpin. Peter and Tony, the two teammates, were very close together, and lapping Vladimir, it was Tony getting in front ever so slightly, but Peter reclaimed his well, third and in reality second position overall. Then it's Sten Mikkel Olsen, Reinhard Berger, Miguel Santiago Carao. That battle is still very close, as we saw coming out of the pits. Then it's Greg Metcalf, not too far behind Robert Horvat, Michal Klisch. And then not too far behind Michal, it's Ruan. So still some pressure on there to not make any mistakes. Alex Scott in P12, quite lonely. Then it's Mike Greatrix, Angelo Guidici, he's being lapped here by Reinhard and Miguel. Magno Liguori in P15, Vladimir Jelicic in P16. Unfortunately, as you can see, we lost Fabio, Florin, Avik and Robert after the pit stops. So it's Vladimir. If he can finish the race, he will take the AM win for sure. Tony got in front of his teammate Peter Bacchus for P2, and he will probably keep that position until the end. For P4, 5, 6 and 7 it was a lot closer. Sten Mikkel Olsen is in P4, slightly in front of Reinhard, Miguel and Greg here, as we see. And this battle will continue until the end of the race. We'll see that later. Florian Kutz was then in 8th, then it's Ruan Joubert. This is on lap 35, as you can see, so a bit over 10 laps to go probably, as it's dry. Alex Scott in P12, then Angelo Guidici going through the chicane. Manlio Liguori, he's still going up the hill, and then Vladimir Jelicic, he's in P15 and first in the AM Cup. So as I said, this battle between Reinhard Berger, Miguel Santiago Carao, Greg Metcalf, and in front as well, Sten Mikkel Olsen got a nasty turn at the second to last lap. Reinhard spun at the chicane, and unfortunately 1 lap later, the very last lap of the race, Sten Mikkel Olsen did the very same, and he let Miguel and Greg through. So here is the end of the race. Mikko Korkiakowski lost first place into turn 1, but he could reclaim it after a small mistake from Peter Backus, and he never lost the grip on that first position. With a good pit strategy, he managed to stay in front and control the field, see what everyone was doing strategy-wise. So a very well-deserved win, difficult win here at Monaco, to keep concentrated also if you have quite a big gap behind. So very nice win for Mikko, and he's strongly in the lead of the championship. As I said, Toni Ukic will finish in second position. He's about to lap Florian Kutz now, so he will go 1 lap down Florian. Then it's Peter Backus, that gap grew a little bit. Then Miguel and Greg Metcalf, as we saw, making mistakes, Sten and Reinhard making those mistakes. So Reinhard ending up in P7 this race, Florian Kutz in P8. We already saw him being lapped. Then it's Ruan Joubert in P9, Michal Klisch in P10. Mike Greatrix will finish in P11, and Alex Scott is very close to him. Mike had to save some fuel at the end, but he will stay in P11 in front of Alex Scott. Then it's Angelo Guidici in P13. Also congrats to him for finishing this race, just as Manlio Liguori and Vladimir Jelicic taking a win in the AM Cup in Monaco. So a very difficult race, as everyone suspected up front. Maybe that's why the field is a little bit smaller than normal, but still 19 drivers took the green flag, and it was Mikko Korkiakowski coming out on top with a 23-second lead over Toni Ukic. And then, as we could see, Miguel, Greg, Sten and Reinhard were only separated by less than 5 seconds at the end of the 70-minute race. Vladimir Jelicic will take some well-deserved points for the AM Cup, although he was 6 laps down, and that will put him back in the title hunt for AM. So this was it for Monaco, an eventful race, difficult race, so everyone will be well prepared for Zhuhai GTR2 stock track in our GT3 car pack. So see you next week for the highlights of that race.